my name is Drew Reeder. I'm an MD and also a professor of philosophy with a special interest in how people heal in the face of chronic illnesses, injuries, disabilities, the changes of aging. This is the topic of my new book called The Healing Body: Creative Responses to Illness, Aging, and Affliction. When we have to deal with some kind of bodily breakdown, it's not only a physical issue, it's kind of an existential issue because our relationship with other people changes, our relationship with our own bodies, with moving through space and time, our whole sense of identity, of God and universe. All of these can be called into question and disrupted when we're dealing with a serious bodily problem. So how do people cope with it, and cope with it often very well? In my book, I use this image of kind of a chessboard of healing, different possibility spaces that you can move to in order to be resilient and adaptive and cope well with these challenges. And today we're going to deal with the space called transcending. This is one of a number of spaces that have to do with the fact that, though in certain ways I am my body, in other ways I feel like I'm not totally subsumed by my physicality. I have a body, but what's happening within my body can also be transcended by other dimensions of the self. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you have a serious and even a chronic or a progressive illness you're dealing with, or you're just getting older, as we all are. Things are starting to become a little bit more creaky and break down from time to time. And nonetheless, you may find capabilities within yourself to transcend. What I mean by that is pretty embracing of different things. For example, humor. If you can joke about what's wrong with you, or surgery you just had, or it doesn't take you over with despair and grief and anger. Humor is a kind of transcendence. So too is just losing ourselves in imaginative literature or entertainment that takes us into a different world, or allows us to use our intellectual capacities. And sometimes dealing with physical problems or aging or whatever even encourages us to develop these other sides of self, which can also include spirituality. As people grapple with my body is getting older or is having all these problems, it can encourage us to ask ourselves, what goes beyond the body? Do I have a transcendent soul? Will I be surviving in an afterlife? Or do I feel like connection with the universe, something that transcends the separate self? So often we turn to these kind of sources of ultimate meaning at some point. And that, of course, is so helpful and supportive for many people in dealing with the problems they face in this world. So on any space on the chessboard of healing, it has its benefits. It also has its shadow side, its drawbacks. What would that be for transcending? Well, just to mention one, sometimes we can put a pressure on ourselves or feel pressure from others to always and ever be able to transcend what's happening. I should be able to suffer through this illness with the sacrificial spirituality of Christ on the cross. or the meditative wisdom and equanimity of a Buddha. Um, I should be doing better than I'm doing. I should have more of a sense of humor. I should be taking the lemons that life gives me and making lemonade out of it. And the fact is, we can't always do that. We do have to be human beings. We do sometimes have to deal with grief, sadness, frustration, anger, um, dealing with a serious bodily problem is a messy business emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. So we have to be a little careful that we don't place pressure on ourselves, that we should ever and always be able to transcend whatever is happening. So anyway, and enough on this topic. Each week we'll take up a different space on the Chessboard of Healing, very briefly. And if you're interested in going into it in more depth, I'll just remind you that I have this new book out, The Healing Body, Creative Responses to Illness, Aging, and Affliction, where I really explore each one of these in much greater depth and detail than we can here, and try to make it not only a kind of an academic book, but kind of a workbook that can be helpful to people in plotting their own shifting and adaptive chess strategy, so to speak, as they're playing with and sometimes against the illness they're dealing with. So see you soon.